Hi, it's Miss Lokes, and if you're watching this, you probably have a student in my math class, probably my Math 9 class, because that's where I do this spiral learning thing the most. And so this is just an explanation of how it works, because I get a lot of questions about this. So I want you to think back to when you were in high school math and think about how the structure usually went. You would do a unit on, say, trigonometry. We don't do that in grade 9, but it's a unit. Um, and so you do the first lesson on it, and it's some vocabulary. It's all pretty easy. It all makes sense. And then the next day you have like lesson this you did 5.1, now you're going to do 5.2. It's a little more involved, but it's still pretty good. And then the next day you do 5.3 and it's a little bit more complicated and you're using everything you did in 5.1 and 5.2. And then the next day you're doing 5.4. And if you haven't been really keeping up at this point, you can start to feel really lost because there's been a lot of new stuff thrown at you in the last couple of days. And often by the time you get to the point 5 part of it, you're completely lost. You don't have any idea what's going on anymore. And that's a terrible feeling. And so what I'm doing, part of why I do this way is because we avoid that by not doing the entire unit all like bang, 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 bang. Also with that, if you miss 2 days and you come back, you have no idea what's going on. So this is essentially what I do. Instead of doing like these are all of the learning outcomes that we do in Math 9, and they're just color coded so that each unit is a different color, each topic is a separate color. Okay, so instead of doing all of the algebraic lessons at the beginning, for example, what we'll do is we'll start off and um, we'll do a lesson on algebra. And then we'll do a lesson on exponents. And then we'll do some polynomial vocabulary. And then we'll do a little bit more with exponents because those two things of exponents kind of go together and you really need both of them to make sense of anything. And then we'll do an introduction to word problems. And we'll call those 5 outcomes a unit. And in this case, the alpha unit is the review, and the beta unit, that's this one, that's what's in the beta unit. And then after we finish that, then we'll start into the gamma unit, which is going to start off with some graphing, plotting, just basic plotting of graphs of X and Y coordinates. And then we'll do two-step algebra. And then we'll do introduce some polynomial vocabulary. And then we'll do that was the green one was order of operations with integers. And what we've added new in grade 9 is exponents and brackets in that order of operations. And then we'll do the polynomial vocabulary. And then we will do another set of word problems, more stuff with word problems. So that's our second unit. And so as you can see, the colors show the topics are all spread out. So I'm just going to skip down here. And this is what the whole thing looks like when I've spread it all out. So we've got each little set here is 5 topics, and then we do a unit test. And so this has a couple of benefits to it. One is that the most powerful one that I see looking at this is that if somebody really struggles with say the one-step algebra questions, which is the first part of algebra, it's like a week or 2 weeks before we get to the second topic of the algebra. And that means that if you're really struggling with it, you have lots of time to come in and get that bit figured out before we're on to the next thing where we're using everything you learned in the first part. And then it's another week and a half or 2 weeks before we get to the next level of algebra. So you have lots of time to be learning something that you're struggling with. And most students don't struggle with all of the topics. Often there's 1 or 2 topics that they're struggling with, and they do pretty well on the rest of it. So there's lots of time to do the new topic and work on the thing that you've been struggling with before we get to the next level of that topic.